So with evolution, remember, there's always different ways that it happens, modes that it happens. And so that day we took notes. We were talking about genetic drift. That's one way evolution happens. And you can see, remember, there's quite a bit of stuff in here. Founder's effect, bottleneck event. And then migration happens, which if I remember right, you guys, everybody here understands migration. You understand what mutation is. And then I left it at natural selection, right, where nature does the selecting of the survivors. Now I stopped it there because this is the main way right now that we think that it takes place. So natural selection, that's where we're going to start our notes. Now if I say, and I bet you guys can finish this, only the strong will survive. Right? Now you think, well, that may have to do with evolution. I don't know if it has to do with evolution more than it does our culture, and it puts in, like with our sports teams, only the strong survive. When you talk about evolution, it's more of survival of the fittest. Remember I talked about probably 3 weeks ago in Africa somewhere, there was the biggest lion ever born. It was the biggest, most muscular, strongest lion ever. It was the fastest, but it was born without the claws, right? Remember that? Yeah. So if I say the strongest survives, could that lion survive? Yeah, maybe. It's going to be strong enough, fast enough to catch things, and it might be able to kill some things, but it won't be better than a lion maybe 2/3 its size with actual claws who will be better. So strength means nothing here. Strength means nothing, how physically strong you are. And so probably a better term is survival of the fittest. And we've heard that probably as much, if not more, as only the strong survive. Now when you see that fittest, that doesn't mean you're in shape. Okay? Doesn't mean you're in shape. Keep that in mind. Okay? So what is this? Natural selection. So nature selects the fittest individuals not only to survive, but to have offspring. Okay? Nature selects the most fit individuals to survive and have offspring. Now remember, that fit doesn't mean that you're in shape. Now, not that I could argue that a cheetah is not fit. When you eat once out of every 13 tries roughly, 0 body fat, you're pretty fit. Really muscular. But in this case, it just means that they're able to survive, find a mate, have little ones. Okay? And so the next one, natural selection, it says explains why living things look and behave why they do. For example, think of a weird animal. What comes to my mind is giraffe. Giraffe has a super long neck. Now, I don't know if it actually happens this way, but I've read in books and heard stories that over millions of years the giraffe was an eater of the leaves, and its neck started getting longer. Okay? And like during a drought, there's not going to be much here on the ground. So over time, their neck lengthened. I don't know that anybody actually really knows how that happened. But their form fits their function. They are plant eaters, and they eat tops of the trees. So when there's nothing down below, there's a drought going on, they always have things that they can eat. Have you ever seen two of those fight? If you want to see something really wicked, don't do it now. But type in on YouTube, fighting giraffe. They are vicious. It's a wonder they don't break their necks, because that's what they do. They just slam their necks together. It's crazy. Another one that's kind of weird. An owl. Have you ever seen an owl?
Yeah.
Has real big round eyes. Helps it do what? See in the dark. When's the prime time it hunts? In the dark. So it's got to have these big eyes that allow a lot of light in. But they have 2 more physical features that help them.
Their neck turning all the way.
Well, they have really sharp talons, but their neck.
Yeah.
You ever seen that? What's that movie with The Exorcist, where the girl and her head turns all the way around? These things, their neck will turn almost 360 degrees. So it could look like this, and he could just go, and I can't do it because obviously I'd break my neck. And it would turn all the way around. So it'd be hard to sneak up on those. So if you're in a tree, and you don't want to make a lot, and you don't have to turn around to see what's behind you, you hear something, man, owl will just go and they'll turn around and start looking. You can never sneak up on one. Now, here's another cool thing, and I've actually witnessed this. I would be out hunting squirrels, and I would just see a shadow, and I'd look up, and I would hear this owl. They would probably be 20, 30 feet over my head. Could not hear it fly. It was so quiet because the feathers are so fine. So it's built to hunt, and it's built to kill. It's probably a better hunter than a hawk or an eagle, simply for those things. It's quiet. It has some couple of stealth things about it that makes it that quiet, makes it really deadly. But nature selected it just for that purpose. Now, for natural selection to occur, some things have got to be true. The population that it's in has to have a lot of different individuals in it. And so I'm thinking, well, how can I explain this to you guys? Well, humans, we don't have much pressure. So we survive. You know, our brains give us the ability to farm and have animals and machines, and life is pretty good for the most part. You know, we don't have to struggle. We're not like the cheetah who eats once every 13 times. We have 3 meals usually a day. But we're different. So we have human beings with dark skin, not so dark, you know, like you get, there's a lot of different ones. There might be some people with dark hair, light hair, blue eyes, brown eyes, green eyes. You get the idea. We're all different. And the more different a population is genetically, the healthier it is. So our population is pretty healthy. But if we were all riding in a boat, just us, and the rest of the human race died and we had to land someplace, we're not going to have the genetic differences that the whole human race, because we're only like 25 people. See what I'm getting at? The bigger the population, the more varied it is. Now that word heritability, it's not irritability, it's heritability. If you could pass on your genes, that's heritability. This is kind of a sticky one for me to present to you, heritability. So just think, parents must be able to pass on the traits to offspring. So if they have genes, but yet they can't pass it on for whatever reason, their heritability, they got to have heritability. And remember, you got to find a mate, but if you find a mate, but you still can't pass it on, the traits, okay, it's going to put a dent in this natural selection. Has she passed on any traits to her kids?
Yes.
Oh yeah, ginger. Big time. Now, you think dad probably contains a gene that's ginger somewhere in there?
Yes.
Probably. But I'm going to guess this is a dominant. Remember, this is more than just one gene controls this. This is probably a polygenic, multigenic. But look at it. Yep, that's obvious. And it's passed on that trait. So 3 redheaded boys. God help. Okay. Now, last one. For natural selection, there's got to be reproductive success. Okay? So, when you think of this, I want you to think not that you have offspring, but you have offspring that live to adulthood. Offspring that live to adulthood. That's reproductive success. My dad came from a family of 13. So he had 12 brothers and sisters. My grandma and grandpa on that side each came from families of 14. I came from big families. Well, when you're a hillbilly family back in the early 1900s and things are not that great, you got to have a lot of kids to kind of help ensure that when you get old, you'll be fine. Now, I come from a family, it was just me and my brother. Okay? And I think you'll see that most people don't have 13, 14 kids in their family anymore. And I got curious. I thought, what is the one man and woman that had the most kids? Who's got their calculator? Who's got it really handy?
I got it.
All right. Well, you ready? Here we go. How many months does it take the human female to have a baby?
9.
9 months. So take 9, multiply it by 69. How many you get?
621.
How much?
621.
621 months. Now I want to know how many years that is. So divide that by 12.
51.75.
51 years. See that woman and that man? That woman was pregnant 51 years of her life. And I know from Mrs. Dobson only having 3 children, can't imagine. I can't imagine what her life was like.
How long did she survive?
Oh, that picture was taken in the 1800s. She survived to an old age. But that was from Russia. Vasiliev was their last name. But look at this. She had 16 twins. 16 sets of twins. 7 triplets. 7 sets of triplets. 4 sets of quads.
Were there not any singles?
Oh, I'm sure there were. You'd have to add that up. 32 plus 14 plus 16. So they had to have. And that's all before they had the medicine that would, whatever. Look at that. That's nuts.
A lot of kids. Wait, are those all like his, like biologically?
If that picture is correct. Now remember, you're on the internet.
Right.
So you gotta, as far as you could probably count them out.
That's crazy.
And I've never taken the time, but I do know it's a fact. Vasilievs, they're the current record holder. There was a woman in Central America or South America who had claimed to have 54 children, but they could only prove 46. She still gets a medal.
Wait, when did she start having kids?
Oh, I'm gonna guess she started probably when she was 15.
He must have liked having kids.
I'm guessing. Think about it. I don't know what her lifespan was, but that was crazy. Okay, so just remember, it's not about how many you have, it's how many you have that survive to have offspring. Okay, last thing. Moving on. Can I move on?
If you even like each kid, dude, you'd have to hate like a
Okay. Now, where nature selects the survivors, not always good for us. We can also select. So whenever a human manipulates animals for our benefit, okay, that's artificial selection. Now before you get going crazy on this, here's one of the easiest ways to show you. I have a couple ants, and they have lap dogs, little worthless dogs, the cute dogs that makes them feel comfortable. Okay, like this one. If you read it, they lost Snuggums. Oh, here's Snuggums. This pug was not made to survive on its own. So this is artificial selection versus natural selection. How long do you think Snuggum's gonna make it? Not long. So if like the human beings were to just totally go away and there was nothing but like Pomeranians and Snickerdoodle dogs or poodles, they probably wouldn't last long without human beings. Okay? So that kind of gets your mind going. What is artificial selection? Well, I can't find pictures, but look at the chickens. People always say GMO is bad. But in 1967, 905 grams was the average chicken weight. Then we started to artificially select for chickens that were more muscular. Look what happened to their weight. And now that we have some that are even bigger, I'm sure, but I haven't been able to find I bet they would be probably twice the size of the one from 2005. Well, if you go to Strack and Mantell, you look in there, man, there's some chickens in there you'd swear they were lifting weights, and they're fine. Think about it. Why do we want chickens that beefy? Yeah, more meat. More meat. You think there's chickens that lay eggs like crazy? Yep. And they're stuck in laying eggs. Now, this picture I'm going to show you here, this isn't fake. That's the Incredible Hulk of the cattle world. Mostly those you're going to find in Europe. That is what's called a Belgian blue. A Belgian blue. Look at the rump roast. Loin. Look at that. Shoulder roast. That's crazy. And I mean, I don't have to sit here and tell you why they make them so big. That's just the meat factor. Okay? And just to give you an idea how big, I might come up to here on this. It's huge. I've never seen one in Indiana. I've only seen pictures, but I know it's the real deal. Okay?
Wait, do they produce more milk?
No, I think they're made just for beef purposes. Tacos and steaks and. Well, I don't. For those, I would say that's probably not a dairy cow. Dairy cows. Think about it. We bred dairy cows to just give milk, and so they're very special. Okay. Last thing. You ever heard of Kobe beef?
Yeah.
It's like one of the world's. It's the most expensive beef you can buy. And Japan has a like a stranglehold on this because this is where the Wagyu cattle. That's the name of it, Wagyu. It's nothing. It doesn't look very special, but it's been bred to give a very tender, tasty cut of meat. So here's a steak, and you can see all the marbling in it. I've never had a steak. I can't afford a steak. I've had a hamburger. It was about like this, and it was $18. And if you look at this. This is a roast, and the roast is about like this, and it was $129. When I was in San Diego last week, I went to a restaurant, and they offered this, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll see what it costs. One little fillet like this. See here where it says $50? It was $127. So this is like old compared. One of these days, maybe I'll try one, just to see if it's great.
I want to try one.
But look at $127 for something like that. But this is an example of artificial selection. What do you think would happen to cows like this out in the real world? Probably would not end up being cows like this after long. Or that Belgian blue. If people disappeared, that Belgian blue, what would happen to the muscle of their offspring? It would just keep getting smaller, 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 smaller. Okay, same thing with milk cows. They would produce less and less and less milk. But this is just an example. Another one is seedless oranges, seedless grapes, seedless watermelons. That's our doing. Okay. Any questions?